One last advice from you. What advice can you give our audience here today to navigate successfully through the crypto market? What is it?
The most important thing is to zoom out. Use those long-term logarithmic charts. Filter down the noise.
I would like to know how big the crypto sector can get in the next few years. I mean, you already compared it to the internet, and we have right now a market capitalization of 2.5 trillion. That's like Apple or Microsoft, so it's not so much for a whole asset class. So what do you think where we can get in the next 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, so I referred before about the exponential growth in adoptions, the fastest growth in history. We're currently at 150 million users. If we continue to extrapolate the growth rate, in fact, slow it down from 113 down to 83%, so knock it down by 20% or so, 30%, we get to 1 billion users by 2024. That's the nature of exponential trends, and 3.5 billion by the end of the decade. So if I then look and say, okay, if we're digitizing everything, and the digital asset space is essentially the digitization of value. That includes the securities markets. How big are they? So equities are about 250 trillion, 300 trillion. Global real estate's 350 trillion. Global bonds about 250 trillion. So if digital assets are truly the disruptive new asset class that basically absorbs all of those over time, is it so much to say that they could be worth 250 trillion? So that's 100x in market cap. So we will have never seen in human history an entire asset class grow in size by 100x in, I think, 10 years.
And a few weeks ago, a quote from you made the rounds in the crypto sector. I can remember we had an article in our magazine, and the question was if we will see a year-end rally or not, and how far the prices can go in this cycle. And you said the markets will go down the path of greatest pain. I mean, does it mean that we are all masochists, or how we can explain that?
When I say greatest pain is the general, we're not talking about the general investors now who already have tokens. You know, that would be the sell-off. But there's not a lot of pain from a sell-off because most of us are in it for the long run, interestingly. So you get a bit of leverage washout from Asian leverage traders, etc. The pain is the fact that every institution is allocating and wanting to allocate. Many of them have the mandate, but institutions tend to do things on a quarterly or annualized basis. So they're all waiting for their 2022 allocations from their investment committees. And the worst thing for them is to see the market squeeze higher and higher in front of them. The institutions tend to rebalance at the end of the year. Hedge funds will often close their portfolio because they start again in the new year with a new P&L. So the hard thing for them is if the market goes up in the last 2 months of the year and they're not participating. It's that kind of pain. I think the pain is to the upside because everybody is short the call option, as I say. They haven't bought enough of it and they know it, but they need to get round to it. So more pain is higher markets.
Okay, and getting more concrete, maybe with Bitcoin, the big question here, I think, in the audience too, is when do we see the 100K Bitcoin in US?
I think we'll see that. I think by end of year.
This year?
This year.
Wow. Okay. That's great. That's bullish. Let's go. We're off. And then I can continue with Ethereum when we are right at the point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ethereum goes over 10,000 this year.
Wow.
But it was following very historic chart patterns. It's starting to deviate a little bit, so it's been a bit slow where it currently is. Same with Bitcoin.
Wow. And what do you think about that Ethereum moves to staking? What's the influence maybe on the price too? Can you give us your take on it?
I think Ethereum ecosystem is a faster growing, deeper, richer ecosystem than Bitcoin is. So Ethereum is a very important part of this whole ecosystem. The move towards ETH 2.0 is a huge step in the right direction of the ability to stake and get yield. So it's creating a money market and a yield curve around Ethereum that doesn't involve DeFi. That's super interesting. And, you know, it'll become quite a deflationary asset. So what we're going to see is probably a lot of people staking, which we're seeing all of these coins coming off exchanges, being staked, locked up in DeFi, locked up in NFTs, locked up elsewhere. And that means there's very little supply. There's about 11% of all Ethereum is available on exchanges to buy. So you put an institutional demand in the middle of that, and there's not enough Ethereum. So the chances, the probability is the price rises all the way into ETH 2.0, whenever that is, somewhere between March and June. And then we've got this unique situation where everybody who's staked is still locked in for a period of time, but the rest of us know they're all going to be sellers after it because they want to release some of their capital. So the market will front run that.
Okay, and what do you think about the competitors, the smart contract competitors? Do you think like Solana, Polkadot, Cardano, and so on, they can beat Ethereum in the long run, or do you think the game is already, the decision is there, and Ethereum will be the #1 smart contract platform for the next years, for sure?
I have no idea, and I think people worry too much about this. All I do know is the size of the pie is increasing 100x. So if Bitcoin's dominance goes down and Ethereum's dominance goes down and Solana's dominance goes up, they're all going up in price, which is interesting. So we're aware of the trade-offs. The trade-offs are less decentralization equals faster blockchains. So that's basically the trade-off. And so people will take their choices. And so I think there's room for all. Now, I think over time, there'll be different adaptations and different chains will become larger that we aren't aware of right now, or maybe Solana does. The point is, I don't know, and that's why we need to have diversified portfolios in the space, keep an open mind, look at these network effects, who's getting adoption. Right now, it's very clear that the 3 tokens, layer 1's getting adoption are Solana, Luna, Terra Luna, and Avalanche. And you'd probably say the Binance chain as well. So those 4 have seen huge adoption, but they're coming from a lower base. So you tend to get faster price rises coming out of them as well.
What advice can you give our audience here today to navigate successfully through the crypto market? What is it?
The most important thing is to zoom out. Use those long-term logarithmic charts. Filter down the noise, the excitement. Check yourself in how you feel emotionally and express yourself emotionally about price rises and price falls, because you're in this for the long haul. This is something, if it's going up 100x in market cap and there's going to be 3 billion people adopting it by the end of the decade, you have to stay in the trade. You have to stay in the thing and keep an open mind. You know, you asked the question about, you know, what's going to happen. Is one of these layer 1s going to beat Ethereum? The answer to everything is, I don't know. And everybody has to be intellectually honest with themselves, is you do not know. So if you keep an open mind, look at the network adoption effects, zoom out, and enjoy the biggest disruption that we have ever lived through in the financial markets and global business models, and embrace it. There's opportunity everywhere here. Just keep your eyes open.